think about values, often it has this feeling of like motherhood and apple pie. It's like honesty, integrity, respect. And I think those are kind of table stakes. I think the more useful discussion around values is when there are two good things that you have to make a trade-off between. Which one will you choose? So a good example of this is like, speed versus quality. There are some startups that it's like, it's just all about speed. We'll break stuff. We'll hack it. We'll just, go. Facebook is sort of notorious for, that being on that side of that trade-off. There are other startups, for example, most enterprise startups, like they can't quite go that fast, break that much stuff. They actually need to have a little bit more polish and quality. So this is a good example where there are two good things, speed and quality, and you have to decide which one is more important, and it has to align with your market. And if you actually value like speed and you don't even you're bored by like the polishing, the quality stuff, like it's useful to pick a market for which that is what is valued. So how do you build this kind of core DNA, this articulation of what the intended culture is? This is where the purpose and values come into play. And because those words are so overused, you don't have to use those words. But essentially, if you want to maximize the chance of creating alignment throughout the organization, you need to be clear on what you're aligning around. So one is the sort of the direction, like where are we headed, which I think purpose is a useful way to describe. What's the point? Like, what are we trying to do here? Maybe another easier way to say it is, what's the future state that we want to make, to create through our effort? It highly impacts the culture, and I think the culture needs to be aligned and the values need to be aligned with creating that future state. So it is a part of the culture. But of course, any company, any team, any group of people need to have a clear future state that they're trying to achieve. Otherwise, you don't have a team, you just have a group of people. So it starts with just getting really clear. And again, I think the question, what's the experience we want to create for our customers, combined with, who are those customers and how many of them do we want to impact, is sort of the core elements of that purpose piece. So we want to, make subscription billing dead simple for 1 million, enterprise customers or something to that effect. Then the discussion around values can be anchored in what you're trying to do. And I think this is a common misconception, or at least it's not well understood, that the values of the company need to allow the team to thrive together, of course, and allow the company to win in the market. And I think that last piece often gets missed. People think if I create this group of people who are, have shared values, we'll all get along great together, and then we'll win. And I think it's necessary but not sufficient, because I think there are a few keys to attracting the right team. One, I'll start with the ones that are, I think, least well understood. And one of those, I think, is to be really clear and vocal about your culture. And I think there's this sort of general thought that, there's like startup culture, and that's a thing, and like all startups kind of have that same, foosball, fratty kind of culture. I think that's not true, nor is that really the essence of culture. I think that's a common misconception that these little artifacts are the culture. I think the culture is ultimately about alignment, all the way from sort of internally, like who you are as founder and as leaders of the company, out to how you behave, how everyone in the company behaves, the systems, processes you build, literally how you conduct business every single day. And then, there are some reinforcing artifacts, like at some companies, foosball tables or Friday beer or things like that, but those are just kind of on the surface. When you get clear about what are those values, what are the operating principles that are really unique to your company, and you articulate them really well and clearly, you draw people, you have the right people self-select in. And that's what I've seen. HubSpot's a good example of this. Zappos is a pretty renowned example of this. It's just so clear what it's going to be like that if you're the kind of person that fits with that, like you're kind of drawn to it. And if you're not, you're not. And I think it's, in some way, the more distinctive and the more polarizing you are about what's unique about your culture, the better.